Hey there, it's Brendan Rogers, and you're listening to the Quick Flash Podcast. Here, we talk about everything photography, videography, and living a fulfilling life. We talk with other photographers, videographers, and entrepreneurs where we can all learn how to grow personally and on a business level. Thank you so much for swinging by our podcast, and let's start the show. Hey, ¿qué pasa, Mufasa? It's Brendan back with another video. And we are doing our first podcast here, and I am joined by my buddy, Steven Uceda. Steven Uceda is my videographer for our wedding business. If you guys don't know, I'm always talking about him in the vlogs and stuff. And finally, we're going to put a face to the name. And today is the podcast, we're going to be talking about the predictions for the Sony A7 IV. But before we do that, I want to say really quick thanks to Max for lending us his podcast studio. A lot of work, a lot of time went into this setup. And thank you, Max, for lending us your studio. I appreciate it. Anyway, so Steven, we're going to talk about the A7 IV predictions today. And, what do you want to see in the new camera? And I want to say, actually, you know what? Before we do that, we should probably talk about the A7 III and the importance of this camera for Sony when it was released, because it was really a game changer for a lot of photographers and a lot of video people, especially. I think that made you switch from the 5D, if I'm not mistaken, from Canon to Sony when the A7 III came out.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was my first jump into Sony. Well, not my first. I've had many switches of cameras over the years. Every single brand under the sun, except Nikon.
You've owned a lot of cameras. Yeah. What was your first camera? Just real quick.
Okay. My first camera was a Nikon D3200. Okay, there. And it did the trick for photos. The video was non-existent. I mean, it was there, but it might as well not have been because it was so bad.
Yeah. Video back then was not a big priority for a lot of the manufacturers. It was always photo focused, and then if you wanted video, you had to spend another arm and a leg for their video cameras. Right? It was.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the time, like, man, I want a T3i because it was so much better in some regards in video than the Nikon systems. I mean, even now, I feel like they're pretending to be video cameras now, but I don't know what it is about Nikon. I've just never gotten into them. I just killed all my sponsorships there, but it's okay because they don't have any interesting cameras. So
for now, they're kind of lagging behind.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, they almost went out of business with the whole COVID stuff. They laid off like 40% of their employees last year.
Yeah.
They completely cut their research and development. So.
Oh no. COVID really did a number on.
It was a little bit before too, but.
Dang. So the Sony A7 III, you when you switched over, what was it about that camera that really made you want to switch over from Canon? When you first, what was the big thing for you?
Daniel Schiffer. It's like all of us. We watch one YouTuber who has a camera, and we're like, man, if I just bought this camera, my stuff would look just like that. And it was between him and the channel Make Art Now, and from seeing both of those, I was like, I'm gonna get it. And I really did want a camera that I could use for photo and video. Yeah. I always had trouble. The 5D 4 was okay. Mm-hmm. I had the 5D 3. I had the 6D, the 7D2, the A7S.
All the Canons, huh? And
the 6300 from Sony.
Yeah.
The Panasonic GH5S. So I've had a ton of cameras. The Blackmagic Pocket 4K as well.
Oh, yeah.
But there's just nothing that's really ever struck a good balance between me as far as my needs for photo and video. And I used to be a lot more evenly split with what I was shooting. And I wanted a hybrid camera, but I've obviously since foregone most of the photos.
Yeah.
And here we are now with the A7S, and
Well, when they released it, it was like it was 4K, 8-bit, and it also shot great photos, and it had like the autofocus features similar to the A9 at the time. So people were seeing that and being like, "Hey, man, we can get the A9 specs almost."
Yeah, like most of the A9 for
a fraction,
1/4 the price.
For $2,000, that got a lot of people in the door for Sony, and I think that was their big game changer. And even now, getting an A7 III is it's probably still a good option, I think, for photo, even and video. And so now we're in this time of Sony where we're thinking about the A7 IV now and where it's going to fit into all the cameras. And what do you want to see maybe in the A7 IV if you were interested in buying it? What are some of the things that we need to see in the A7 IV?
For me, the first thing that I think on all camera manufacturers, the photos are pretty similar.
Right.
Something that I would like to see on the photo side, believe it or not, would be a better silent shutter performance, or the electronic shutter. I'd like to see that take down some of the stuff from the A1 where you reduce the sort of banding or stuff that you,
the color
that you
shifts,
get.
right? There's color shifts
weird.
too.
It's really weird. So if we could pull that from the A1, I know that's a tall order. If we could pull something like that, that'd be amazing. Even if it's at 6 frames per second, 10 frames per second.
Because it's pretty unusable, right? Like, and there are some situations where you find yourself like, you don't want to be obtrusive with your shutter clicking, like in a wedding or something, but you can't use it. It just,
it's horrible.
Photos are going to look awful.
If you want to hear lots of shutter clicking, just watch any of the wedding films where I happen to be standing next to you. You hear plenty of that shutter going up.
Yeah, I just don't use it. I've used it one time. It was a big mistake. I was like, oh God, these photos are...
It's horrible.
It's warped. And so that, that is actually... Maybe a tall order from Sony, maybe.
I think so. Know. But that's kind of a random thing. I don't know if a lot of people are really asking for that. Something that I'd like to see is actually better autofocus performance, I think, for sure, because at least in video, I feel like it's a little bit lackluster on the A7 III. In certain situations, I'd like to see the eye tracking.
Right.
And of course, a touch screen, flip screen, things like that.
I always felt that there was a lag, actually, on the photo side. Maybe not so much the video, because I don't really shoot a lot of video with A7 III anymore, but the photo side for sure, I felt like there's like a delay almost.
You think so?
I don't know. It just feels weird to me because like when I feel like I'm focusing on something, and then if I wanted to switch to like eye autofocus, there's like a second delay like before it actually turns green and focus. You know what I mean? I think you.
But you use Sigma lenses, right? So that's probably why.
Well, before, yeah, but even now, it just seems very it's kind of slow a little bit to respond to the. And I know the lenses are a lot faster than maybe the camera body is what it's capable of. So if they can improve that, I totally agree. So 24 megapixels is fine, or should we increase it to maybe 30?
I think 24 to 30 would be, or maybe even 24 to 32. Yeah. Anything from 24 to maybe what the 5D was at before, because I like 24 megapixel photos, but I like to have a little bit of room for cropping. Right. So it's nice if you could crop a little bit, still have a 24 megapixel image and have plenty to print with.
Yeah. On the 5D, it was like 30 megs, and you can also you can crop in pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
You wouldn't have any issues.
What would be cool is if they keep the sensor the same and they just make it process way faster. So they give us higher frame rates, better FPS, which is better performance in general.
Yeah, and they have better chips already. They already have processing chips that are a little bit better, right?
Like I think that's going to be an issue actually, because there's a chip shortage right now, which is why the camera's probably going to be delayed. I'm thinking maybe earliest like October, man. And then if everything pans out right. More than likely, we might be looking at next year, like Q1 2022.
Jeez.
So, which is overdue at this point.
Yeah, I think so. And even prior to COVID, they had that earthquake in Japan, right? That was kind of like that shut down their chip manufacturers and stuff. That kind of delayed their releases of their cameras. Now we're starting to see, I think, the more frequent releases of cameras. I think, but then there's COVID now. That there's like a shortage of everything almost, right? Everything was really affected by COVID.
I don't know if Sony does this as well, but I know Toyota, they started requiring after that tsunami we had back 10 years ago. They started requiring that they have all of the parts for different vehicles, like replacement parts. They have 6 months of inventory on hand at one time because of just natural disaster issues like that. I don't know if that's the case with Sony. I doubt it.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to see pretty significant delays in that. And I think even once they start coming out, I think the shipping is going to be an issue. It's probably going to be back ordered for half a year or more, You have
to be on B&H Photo for the second it releases.
6 o'clock in the morning.
You're right. And just
on it. I might buy just 2 of them just right away, and I'll sell one on eBay I'll be a scalper for a day.
Yeah.
I don't like them, but
So the photo, we say 24 megapixels. What about video? Now we gotta
see. That's the main thing. If they kept the photo side exactly the same and they fixed the video specs, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see at least. I know everybody's going to say it 60p. I don't think we need 120. I like 120 a lot on the A7S, but I already have an A7S,
right?
And I wouldn't be replacing it. I'd be buying an additional camera. So
and 120 is kind of.
Yeah,
I mean it's
for
nice,
certain things.
But 60p usually is
I think 60 in 10-bit, and I'd like to see the same bit rates as A7S III.
Right.
I don't really want to see 100 megabits on everything. I think what they did with A7S III with doubling the bit rate every time you double the frames per second is good, because the 60, the 120, the 30, the 24, they all look the same. They really, there's no degradation.
Yeah.
With the 240 a little bit, But
bit, yeah.
I think with all of the main frame rates, you're not really going to see stuff like that.
That's good. Yeah, because A7 III had that issue, right? You shoot a 120 and it was just like
even
garbage.
60, like anything in 1080 on the A7 III was horrible
apart,
for me.
yeah.
Like especially if you were going to grade, or if I had 4K clips next to the 1080, I didn't think they'd look that bad. But when you put them together, they almost didn't cut together. It was so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a big issue, and then the video side was, well, of course, the limitations of the 8-bit, but then, of course, the resolution too, and just, the
1080 was and aliasing.
But then in 4K, it was downsampled, right, from 6K, so that you had this really high resolution 4K.
And then a very poor
and then 1080 was
60 megabits, 1080p,
Just hurt your eyes. It's just, So if they keep all those specs the same, but they have to add a 10-bit and 4K 60.
Yeah. I think if they did that, maybe if they did 120 and 1080p, right, and they did 10-bit, something to throw in there.
And maybe the resolution is still
it still looks okay. Maybe they downsample the 4K to 1080.
Yeah, that would be.
Or they do a crop or whatever. I don't really care. Yeah, just something for 120, and then maybe just keep out the 240.
Yeah. Do you think they should include the image stabilization of the A7S now with the the active steady shot and all that
honestly
stuff?
Haven't used it. I've had the camera since it came out. I was not super early on the shipments. I ordered right away. I got mine in like October of last year, but since then I still haven't tried using the stuff. I'm more like if I want it stable, I'm gonna put it on a gimbal anyway, or a slider, or a tripod, or a monopod.
Yeah, so. Steven used to shoot the Blackmagic Pocket camera on a gimbal, follow focusing, and
my bicep. Like the worst part was at the end of the day, you just have like this hardcore pain right there, and then in your triceps, it would just hurt so bad.
Yeah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll link a wedding video that Steven shot, and it was on the Blackmagic.
I need to find a photo. Actually, I have a photo of it, and I had to put counterweights on one side to keep it from flipping over.
And then it was all manual focus too. So anyway, Steven's very familiar with gimbal work, and so I guess using active
the orbit on every shot, the little 360 parallax
or everything. Yeah. So and then what if we? Is it enough? Like the 4K is that enough? Or are you looking at, because have the Sony A1 that's got, what is it, 8K now or 6K?
Yeah, that's enough for me. I think also a big thing I would like to see, if they didn't put in, I don't know with the A1, to be honest, if you're an S-Log, do you know if on the A1 there is that dual circuit, or is it only on the A7S III? Because that's a big deal to me also.
That's true.
If they take that out, that's going to be a tough sell.
Well, the thing is, if you look back in the past, though, the A7S has always been the low light, right? Like that's the low light camera, shoots at night basically, and then the A7 III was kind of a compromise. Like it could still do low light pretty decent, but it wasn't as good as A7S.
I heard actually that it was better.
You did?
Yeah, I actually saw a Make Art Now video, and that's the reason I bought the A7 III instead of the A7S II.
He makes that video.
But
4K.
I think it had quite a bit more noise reduction added into the camera, so you get more of a smeary look. But it was technically cleaner, less detail maybe, but
less noise and stuff.
I'm not sure, but yeah, if we could get that in the A7 IV. That'd be awesome. I don't know if they'll do it.
Yeah.
I think if they don't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because you shoot a lot. You shoot 12,000 ISO.
I shoot at 12,000 all day.
Yeah.
Not all day, but pretty much like anytime it gets like the whole reception is just 12,800 the whole time.
And the A7S it's so strange that you're indoors shooting 12,800 ISO with an ND filter.
I'll have to use ND sometimes. It's weird. Like I'll be indoors and I'll be at 5.6 at 12,800, but it's just I'd say anything above 2,000, it looks pretty bad in S-Log 3. It gets kind of ugly.
Yeah.
As soon as you hit 12,800, just cleans up. Like it looks phenomenal. Like it's I haven't had to noise reduce any of the wedding films. I don't think noise reduction. I mean, the noise is a problem anymore. It's like I might see it, but I'd say the 12,800 on this camera now, especially with fast class, is like it's like 800 on a 5D3. Like
it's just super clean.
You just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, once you start cranking up ISO a little bit, it's just automatically go to 12,000. And so, what about S-Cinetone? What are your thoughts on S-Cinetone?
I would love it, right? Because when I do client work that they need stuff turned around fast, that's what I use. I'm not a big fan of turning the picture profile off because I just think it like clips the highlights, the skin tones, everything's saturated. And S-Cinetone is a good compromise for me. I don't really feel like I have to do much. Maybe add a little contrast, just a little S-curve.
8-bit?
Yeah, and I just do 8-bit. Like when I'm doing corporate videos and they just want stuff in 1080p and they want it delivered like quick, a couple days. Like I put in S-Cinetone 8-bit. I leave it in a 4K and,
Is it overrated, S-Cinetone?
I don't know. I mean, I was expecting maybe a little bit more because I just heard so much about it, but it's a good profile. It's not that different than PP off, but you get the skin tones do look better, and you get a little bit more dynamic range.
Right.
So you can mess with it.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype around it because when the FX9 came out, right? It was like, oh, it has this new profile. It's a Cinetone, and so it was like, in order to get that, you needed.
I know you were about to drop 10K for a picture profile, and I was like, Brendan, just wait. And sure enough, a month later, they came out with a firmware update.
Dude, that was the greatest.
And I came out with my first YouTube video, which has not been followed up yet. Link in description.
Greatest, yeah. We'll put the link in how to update if you haven't updated your A7S3.
I'm pretty sure they come stock with the firmware already updated now.
At this point, yeah.
It was a dated video. I got my 660 some views, and I'm out.
Jeez,
that's it.
And so, is there a way? Do we know if there's like a way to improve the way the files work? Because right now I know you do a proxy workflow because of the way the MacBooks and handle the files from video. Is there a way to? Is it just we're going to have to wait for the manufacturers like the M1 chips and all these other things to kind of catch up with these these outputs from the camera, or is there a way to improve that workflow in camera?
We just get a Windows. Just build a PC. Christ. No, I'm joking.
I don't want to build a PC.
No, I think the thing is going to be mostly on the PC manufacturer side.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could try to do some clever stuff, but we haven't been seeing H.265 improved.
Yeah.
And that was the whole purpose, was to reduce file size.
Right. Which is good. It is a good compression, right? I mean,
but even with the all intra codec on the A7S III, I haven't been able to edit it very easily. I have a maxed out,
your computer.
16-inch from last year, and no, I can't really do it for any extended period of time. Right. But proxies aren't that hard to deal with. I feel like that's the easiest thing. You can shoot them in camera if you want. It takes 2 minutes to link them, and then you can cut it like butter and export full resolution.
I'm just stubborn. I don't want to do it.
You got Final Cut problems though, so
yeah. Well, even on Final Cut, it's just, I don't know, dude. It just, the computer just freezes up. Especially maybe not the 4K 24, but once you hit 60p, man, the computer just boom. I
don't know how you edit without it. It's ridiculous. Like I can't. If I press play, I want to play immediately. If I have it take 2 seconds to press play after I press it, no, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to sit there and troubleshoot.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm going back and forth and I'm trying to edit as I'm playing back things. Stop it right here, cut. Move to the next thing.
Cool. And then, what about the price? What price point would be too much, I think, for the A7 III? Because how much does the A1 cost right now?
That's like $6,000.
Yeah, and that was roughly the price of the A9, I think, right?
But that's a 1DX style competitor, so I understand it. Like if I had the cash, I probably would, but
I know, dude. Like,
and I used to shoot sports a lot too, so that would have been my thing. But you need long lenses for that too, and there's no inexpensive fast aperture telephoto lenses.
No.
So I think if we could see it come in, I'd say anything under $2,499 would be semi-reasonable. If they could hit $2,000 or or $2,100, $2,200, that'd be amazing. I don't think they'll go less than $2,000. There's not a chance of that happening, especially with the chip prices being more expensive.
No, I don't think so.
But if we could stay under $2,500, I think that'd be a winner for a lot of people. The only real answer at that price point would be the R6 or the S5, and both of those have their own set of issues.
Yeah.
The main thing is going to be keep this thing from overheating. I think if it overheats in 60p, it's a no deal for me.
Oh yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah. It turns out to be, does the Canon still overheat even after firmware?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it does. I think it's better now, but the R6 actually had worse overheating than the R5 from my understanding. So
yeah. What's
on your wish list? What's a couple items that you'd like to see, so we can kind of wrap up?
You're like, I got a shoot to go to in Brownsville.
No, Max told me we're like 20 right now. So
we're at 20 minutes. Oh shit.
So.
Okay.
At least.
So for me, it's, since I'm a photo guy, it would just be better autofocus features and stuff. And then if I can have it as a B cam for the A7S III, we can use that also for our wedding videos too, even as a wide shot.
I think the biggest thing for you would be to increase the life expectancy of the shutter.
Oh, I know.
If we could increase that from to maybe like 400,000, then maybe it would last you more than a year.
Oh, now I know what I was going to talk about. Yeah, dude, because after a year, I know you're already like
80,000, 100,000.
Even the camera that we just bought from you, it's probably already nearing. I don't even know anymore. I haven't checked, but one thing was the resolution. I've gotten so used to the A7 III's flip screen. So
A7S III, you mean?
The A7. Well, for photos, as far as the A7 III.
Okay.
Yeah, when I go to the A7S III. I mean, it's great, and it's like real time and everything. But the A7 III, the resolution of that flip screen,
It's really bad.
Oh God, and it's
and the
embarrassing.
punch in is horrible too. That's actually one of the weirdest things I noticed. I liked better about this camera. If you've ever tried to punch into focus on any Sony camera before that came out before like June of last year, right? If you punched in, which is so soft, you could be rocking the focus back and forth and not be able to tell if you're in focus.
Exactly.
And they fixed that. That was just a quality thing. So that's a necessary.
It has to be,
thing,
but I mean, so we're talking about the chips now, and then the resolution to increase that. I mean, that's a lot to demand now, and also try to keep it within that that entry level.
If they did a Sony version of an R6 and they got rid of the overheating, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. And I think they can do it. They've always been better about the computational kind of software side of stuff.
Right. Yeah, they're still leading in
if we could see that rolling shutter, I'd like to see it a little bit better.
Yeah, that's true because at
least as good as the A7S III really doesn't have much rolling shutter at all. You can whip it back and forth, and it's just a couple milliseconds.
Whip what?
Whip it good.
Whip what back and forth? The camera.
The camera.
We're still talking about cameras here, guys.
We're talking about cameras. That's horrible, Brendan. I don't know what your problem is. You have kids, don't you?
Yeah. No, I was making sure we're talking about cameras.
Yeah. That's horrible.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a really exciting time because. We're in because of the competition between Canon and Sony and Nikon. Everybody's trying to outdo each other.
Nikon.
And the people that are maybe not Nikon, right? Sorry, Nikon, but like the people are benefiting from it. The consumers are because of this competition. I mean, Canon was always the leader. They were there for a long time, and Sony started giving them a run for their money, and now we're starting to see a lot of competition.
Well, for a while, I think Canon was known as the company who didn't listen to their customers.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, right? Because they just do whatever they wanted.
And Sony too, to a certain extent, with the flip screens and other stuff. Because from a Sony rep, not that I have any communication with them, right?
Yeah.
But I'd seen in a video, and they were talking about the fact that they just didn't know that people wanted flip screens apparently, and I just couldn't believe that. And they put out the ZV-10 or the ZV-1. The ZV-10's not out yet, right?
Yeah, but
and they were like, "Hey, this sold really well. I guess people do want the flip screens."
Jesus,
it's like, dude, have you seen any of the forums? Just go on Sony Alpha rumors and look at all the people trolling in the comments asking for stuff.
So is a flip screen necessary then for the A7 III?
I'd be a little bummed, but I'm not a vlogger, so. I don't care that much. Yeah. It's nice.
It's convenient when you're trying to frame up a shot of yourself, like if you're doing YouTube and stuff. I mean, it does come in handy for sure.
But
because before I would just have to like just kind of guess that I'm in the frame. It was kind of annoying. But it's also versatile with photos, at least, because I know like I'm always just pulling it out, and
it's better for vertical shooting. If you're going to do a low like vertical shot, you can't do it with the typical flip up.
Yeah,
maybe if they gave us now, I definitely don't think that they'll do this, but if they gave us the one on the Panasonic S1H. Have you seen it? It's it's a typical flip up, and then it slides to the side, and then it flips out.
So just like multi.
Yeah, it does everything. So if you want to flip up or down, you do that.
Wow.
Now, I'm not a fan of Panasonic for a variety of reasons.
Their autofocus is...
What autofocus? But,
I mean... We're going to be talking crap and watching what we're going to be autofocus here in this clip.
Probably. But, I think I don't know. I mean, outside of the camera that is already pretty good, the A7 III, I think if they just bumped up the video specs a little bit, maybe fix the autofocus.
Yeah. There's not a lot of things.
Give us the bigger body.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it has it, and the menu system too, right?
And the touch screen, like it's got to be that stuff at least. I think they'd have a winner as long as they can keep the price reasonable. Right. And I think that's what most people are looking for.
Yeah, most of the time it's just the upgrades are not big, like with Sony at least at this point. Once the A7 III came out, people were just like, you know what? Now we just want 4K 60 and 10-bit, and we're happy. We don't need 8K and all this other crazy stuff and
product focus mode or whatever.
Yeah, and
shallow depth of field vlogging mode.
Right. We don't need all that. We need just something to work with, like that's a little bit easier. 4K 60 to grade, and we're good. I mean, that's all we've really ever asked for. I remember 4K 60 was like 4K 60 was the thing. So those are our predictions. Those are our wish list.
When's it going to come out, Brennan? What's your prediction for when it's going to get announced? Man, that's the one right now,
dude. If it takes as long as A7S III, we can be waiting a good while, because I felt like that was the unicorn camera we were always waiting for, and It just felt like it.
I know. When I found out that was going to happen, I dropped my black magic to some sucker locally.
Who bought that dang thing?
I don't know, man. Some guy, and his name started with a B. I can't remember it.
Jesus.
B Rogers.
Whoever bought that thing
on Instagram, something like that.
You know, a YouTube video would
Brandon?
take like 500 some gigs after all the B-roll and the talking heads and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My weddings were like 1.5 terabytes.
Yeah.
I had to stop. It was horrible.
It's a great camera. Great and all, but God, the file sizes.
Yeah. So
such an
what are you thinking? Give me a month. Give me a year.
I think if they're smart, they should do it around, the holidays for sure. At least announce it maybe in the fall and have it go out in the holidays. That's usually probably a smart move. People start buying it for, their significant others or whatever.
Yeah.
Or their kids or
so what are you thinking? You thinking November release then?
Maybe November, yeah. Early November leading into the holidays for sure.
I'm thinking that, and if that doesn't pan out, I'm thinking like, I don't know, January, February 2022, maybe.
Yeah. It's going to be, it might be a good while.
But hopefully sooner rather than later. And I think they'll get some good sales out of it.
Yeah, for sure. You have to just meet those little, just small improvements in video and just you're going to outsell. You're going to sell a lot of cameras.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think that's pretty much it on the predictions.
Cool.
Anything else you want to add, Brennan?
No, that's it. Thanks guys for watching. Steven, thank you for taking time. I know you have a shoot today, and appreciate your time as always. It doesn't go unnoticed. And Max, again, thank you for letting us the studio. Great setup. Anyways, I'll link Max. Link his YouTube down in the description. Steven, also, you guys should also go give him a follow. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh man, that was great. Cool.